What's going on, guys? GH here. Today we are going to check out the most unpopular build in TOS, and the build consists of Shinobi, Assassin, and Corsair. In this video, you're going to see how this build performs in the game. We're gonna show each classes, what they do, their abilities, and the reason why each of these classes are here in this build, then the good and the bad, and some closing remarks to finish up the video. And with that said, here is Shinobi, Assassin, and Corsair. Let's do this. Okay, here's the classes. We got Corsair, Assassin, and Shinobi. We're gonna start with Corsair. Now, Corsair are classes that can use pistols and dagger. They specialize in buffs that increases attacks, and that's the reason it's here, to increase the overall damage output of this build by using a few skills, namely Brutality and Jolly Roger. Now, Brutality is a self-buff that increases 40% damage output and it consumes 30 SP per 5 seconds. This is one of the best buffs in the Scout class 3, much like Frenzy in the Swordsman class, so always keep this up. The next skill is Jolly Roger. This is a flag that you can install in a location, and then when you're near it, you're given a chance to do a 100 hit combo, and when you achieve that, you get additional damage. There are more skills in the Corsair arsenal, like Hex and Dropper, Impale Dagger, and Quick and Dead. All of those skills are very good filler skills that definitely helps this build's ability to deal consistent damage. And that's Corsair. It's quite possibly the best damage buffer class in the Scout class 3. Now let's check out Assassin. Now, I said this build is an unpopular build, but Assassin in of it itself is undeniably a very popular class because it's one of the best class to pick in the Scout class 3. And the reason Assassin is in this class build is because Shinobi works with Assassin. Aside that, Assassin can also boost critical hit damage and make enemies bleed, which is good if you have Priest Cutter card. The first Assassin skill we're gonna look at is Hasisas. This is the buff that increases critical hit damage. And for you to feel the increased critical hit damage, you must first lose HP, because the additional critical hit damage is in ratio of your maximum and lost HP. So just maintain a slight decrease of your maximum HP and you will get the critical hit damage increase. The next skill is Behead. This is the skill that makes enemies bleed. Pretty basic, you need this if you want to take advantage of Prison Cutter card. The third skill is Instant Acceleration. This is an attack that deals damage, but the main purpose of this skill is for mobility, because it can help you escape an undesirable situation. The next skill is Annihilation. This is an area attack which is also an iframe that you can use to avoid hard hitting attacks. Yes, while this skill is active, you can't be hit. The last skill we're gonna look at in the Assassin armament is Hallucination Smoke. This is an area debuff that reduces critical resist and evasion. It's the reason why Assassin is here in this build, because this debuff doubles the hit of one of the strongest attack of Shinobi. We're gonna look into that in a bit. And that's Assassin, a good source of abilities that can help increase damage output and add utility skills that can give you an advantage. And now let's bask ourselves to the glory of the mighty Shinobi. Undoubtedly, ninjas are super popular. I remember in the 90s I have like a bunch of games that has ninjas on it, but in this game, Shinobis are possibly the most unpopular class in this game. I know Sadhu is kinda useful now. Can anyone think of a class that is as unpopular as Shinobi? Anyways, Shinobi is a class who are familiar with special tactics called ninjutsu. And the reason this class is here is because this is the main class of this build. The two other classes in this build are selected so that we can get more out of Shinobi. Now, the first Shinobi skill we're gonna look at is of course Bunshin Najutsu. This gives you 3 shadow clones that can imitate Shinobi skills. Basically, they can cast Shinobi skills, therefore resulting in an insane damage output. Sadly, this is also the reason why Shinobi is unpopular or underused, because this skill is so clunky. Those Shadow Clones AI is dumb, and aside that, they die so fast. In some instances, you just summon them and they just disappear because they can't handle the raid boss area attack. And if those shadow clones disappear, all your Shinobi Skills potential damage output is gone with them. That said, here are the Shinobi Skills that can be used by the shadow clones. First is Raito no Jutsu. This is a lightning pierce type attack that deals moderate damage and can deal more damage if used with shadow clones. Next skill is Kunai. It's a range attack that can deal even more damage if shadow clones are present. And the last skill is Meijin no Jutsu. This is an area attack that deals great damage and even greater if shadow clones are present. And this skill hits 2 times when used with Assassin's Hallucination Smoke. So make sure to use Hallucination Smoke first, then Meijin no Jutsu for maximum damage output. And that's Shinobi, a class with huge potential but hindered by a bad design or just sheer neglect. And that's the class build. If all works well, this build is pretty awesome. But my recommendation is wait for the Shinobi rework. Yes, I heard they are reworking Shinobi. I hope they don't mess it up. Anyway, let's do the good and the bad. Let's start with the bad. I probably stated the bad stuff already, which is the shadow clones is not good. The clones die easily, therefore reducing the damage. Another thing is, this is one of those builds that uses a bunch of items to fuel the skills. And as most of you know, those are annoying and can run out in the middle of something you're doing. Lastly, even with all the skills of this build, you still have a space or time without any skills to use, especially if your shadow clones got interrupted. Now let's do the good stuff. One good thing about this build is if all aligns and all works well, this could be the best burst damage build in the Scout Class 3. The damage output is off the charts. That is, if all works well. Another thing is, taking advantage of Prison Cutter card is very easy here, because Assassin can make enemies bleed indefinitely. Lastly, this build's mobility and damage immunity is awesome. Getting out of a bad situation is a breeze. All in all, this build is actually very good if all works well. But in reality, when you use it, most of the times there will be a problem. And if I were you, just wait for the rework before trying out this build. And that's it, guys. That's the build. What do you think? Does the build need to be used more often or what? Share your thoughts in the comment section down below. And if you like the video, hit the thumbs up, share, and then subscribe to be part of the Gaming Hardcore family. And as always, this is Gaming Hardcore. See you in the next one.